Hello, lads and lasses. Hey, if you like today's lesson, then become a cake decorator and only write I Heart Art on the cakes, no matter if they ask for happy birthday or happy anniversary or whatever, as this would really help spread the good word about my class. Okay, everybody, we're going to start our big Zentangle project today. We have practiced our Zentangles in the past in our sketchbook, and so we're going to start the project today. All right, I'm going to show you some examples from previous students of what our Zentangle project will be. Um, basically, we're going to take a gray sheet of paper for those of the students that are at school. If you're at home, if you don't have gray paper, just use white paper. And we're going to break that space up and then fill in those spaces with Zentangles. And the big shape that is in the middle will be a symbol. So you're going to choose a symbol for yourself, and then we will fill in the shapes, the extra spaces with Zentangles. All right, so I've shown you some examples, and let me just explain how we're going to do this. All right, if you're in the classroom, you're going to be using the book. If you're at home, I will send you these list of symbols. All right, so these are runes and these are astrological symbols, and astrological symbols, that's an Egyptian Ankh. And there's these symbols right here. So choose a symbol that works for you. All right, so I'm going to give you you're going to get a sheet of paper. You're going to make a 1/2 inch border. And there's a video on how to make a 1/2 inch border. All right, we have just finished putting a border around our paper. So we finished step one. Make sure that your name is on the back, and I want you to write your name in the upper left-hand corner, and then you turn your paper around and write your name in the upper left-hand corner. Make it big and bold so that it's easy to see it. Then turn your paper back over. All right, that was step one. Okay. I want you to draw your symbol very lightly because you'll be erasing this later. But I want you to draw it really big so that it fills up the entire space, that it touches the borders. I don't want a small symbol in the middle. I want it large so that it touches more than one border. Does that make sense? All right. So very lightly draw your symbol. Oh, and also one more thing. All right. By the way, I think this is Aries. Is that Aries? Anybody in Aries in here? All right. So that's an Aries. So if you draw it straight up and down, remember what I talked about in the beginning of the year, how vertical lines are stoic and diagonal lines are dynamic. We want this to be dynamic. So do not draw it straight up and down. That would give me a sad face when I grade your paper. It'd be boring. Put it at an angle. That'll give me a happy face. All right, so draw it really large so that it touches more than one border. Are we ready to move on? All right, the next step is I want you to make that drawing thick. So it's not just a single line. So for example, I turn my Aries symbol from just a line to a thick shape. Does that make sense? I turn my symbol from that to that. I want you to draw yours large and thick. Okay, once you have drawn your outer edge and erased the line inside, your drawing should look like that, something like that, correct? All right, next, what I want you to do is I want you to draw a nice graceful, curving line that goes from one side to another. Watch carefully before you start this. Look up here. That is a nice, graceful, curving line that goes from one side to another. This one is a nice, graceful, curving line that goes from one side to another. This is not. It's a squiggle. Do not do this. Does that make sense? All right, so once again, and it can go from one side to the opposite side or one side to a perpendicular side. Are we done with that line? All right. Next, I want you to draw a second graceful curving line. And this one, I only kind of went from one corner to another, and it just kind of made one. What I'm doing is I am breaking up the space. So I'm looking at the areas where there's a lot of space, and I'm drawing a line that breaks it up. So find an area in your drawing that has a lot of space and do a curving line that breaks it into more shapes. Does that make sense? Anybody confused by that instruction? Have we got that done? All right, moving on. I've drawn a third line that breaks up space. All right, at this point, how many lines there are is all dependent on how you've drawn your picture and what symbol you've used. So you could stop here, or we can add a couple more lines so that we're breaking up all our big spaces. So look at your drawing. Are there any big spaces, like really large spaces? Break them up with simple curving lines. Are we ready for the next step? Everybody's done with this step? Anybody need more time? All right, moving on. Turn all of those lines into a double line. Are we ready to move on? All right, that sounded like a yes. Everybody, eyes up on the screen, watch carefully. Inside of your shape, you're going to erase everything inside the shape. Also, where two lines intersect, you're going to erase the intersection. Does that make sense? And also where the line touches the shape, that little area right there gets erased. Okay, and then the next step is just deciding which Zentangles to put where. So I have how many spaces? One. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 spaces. So then I'll need to look through here and find Zentangles, or I will need to look on the internet and find Zentangles. But let's see what other students have done. And also, one of the rules with this assignment is that this needs to be 1/3 black, 1/3 gray, and 1/3 white. And the black will be ink, the gray will be the paper, and the white will be a white colored pencil. Okay, everybody, the next step is I want you to get a pen, and we are going to ink all of the outlines with a pen. And I want these lines to be bold and thick. So that's the next step. And then I'm going to show you one more thing. All right, all the lines are going to be bold and thick with an ink pen. Find your smallest space. So on my picture, I think my smallest space was that one right there. And if that was my smallest space, I'm going to put polka dots in it. So I'm going to draw polka dots, and they're going to go off outside of the shape. Does that make sense? All right. So if we get even closer, do you see how the polka dots worked on that? And then I'm going to use a pen now. Then I have a choice. I can either have a black polka dots on a white background or white polka dots on a black background. All right. It's your choice, but you're going to use a black pen. So what I would do is color in the polka dots white. All right, that's it for today. And until next time, be a little art factory.